All right, let's jump into a deep dive of Dragon Age Origins. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill fantasy RPG. We're talking about something special here, something truly legendary.
Oh, absolutely.
And our deep dive, as always, is based on excerpts from Dragon Age Origins, a comprehensive overview. And one of the things that really grabbed my attention was how this game is seen as a kind of spiritual successor to the Baldur's Gate series.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. Baldur's Gate really set a high bar for storytelling and choice-driven gameplay, and Dragon Age.
Yeah.
Origins picks up that torch and runs with it.
Oh, it definitely does. And it takes us to a whole new world, one that's teetering on the brink of chaos, a world called Thedas.
Thedas, that's right. And the kingdom we're focusing on is Ferelden. Imagine a land where magic is real, where ancient dragons slumber beneath the earth, and political intrigue is a way of life.
Sounds like my kind of place.
Oof.
But you mentioned chaos. What's causing all this turmoil?
Ah, yes, the Blight. It's not just some local skirmish. We're talking about a full-blown demonic invasion. Hordes of these creatures, darkspawn they're called, pouring out from the depths of the earth, led by an archdemon.
An archdemon. Now that sounds terrifying. What exactly is an archdemon?
Well, picture a dragon, but not just any dragon. This one's corrupted, twisted, a manifestation of an old god, one of these incredibly ancient, powerful beings. But they've been corrupted, turned into something truly monstrous.
Corrupted gods, demonic hordes, dragon things. I'm already hooked, but where do I fit into all of this? Who am I in this world?
You are the Warden,
Yeah.
a new recruit to the Grey Wardens, this ancient order dedicated to protecting the world from the Blight. They're like the first and last line of defense against these darkspawn.
The Grey Wardens. Sounds like a pretty important job. But one thing I've always loved about Dragon Age is the origin stories. How do those work exactly?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. You're not just customizing your character's look. You're choosing their entire backstory, their origin story. We're talking about fully fleshed out narratives, each offering hours of unique gameplay.
And they really shape how you experience the rest of the game, right? It's not just a quick prologue.
Absolutely. It's not just a gimmick. It's a core part of what makes Dragon Age so special.
Okay, so remind me, how many origin stories are there?
6 unique origins to choose from. City Elf, Dalish Elf, Dwarf Commoner, Dwarf Noble, Human Noble, and Magi. Each one plunges you into a completely different starting experience.
Yeah, I've heard that these origin stories aren't just flavor text. They have a real impact on how the game unfolds. But could you give me an example of how that works in practice?
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, imagine you start as a city elf.
Yeah.
You're struggling to survive in the slums, facing prejudice at every turn, fighting for every scrap. Contrast that with the Dwarf Noble origin. You begin as a member of the royal family, navigating a world of politics, ancient traditions, and family drama, all within the grand dwarven city of Orzammar.
Wow, that's quite a difference. It's like playing two entirely different games.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just the setting and your character's personality. NPCs will react to you differently based on your origin. Quests will unfold in unique ways. Even your companions will have their own opinions about your past.
So it's about crafting an entire backstory that informs every aspect of your journey. You're not just a blank slate. You're stepping into the shoes of someone who has already lived a life before the Blight begins. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really adds a layer of depth to the role-playing experience.
So we've got this world on the brink of collapse, these terrifying darkspawn, and I, as the Warden, emerge from my chosen origin story, ready to face this overwhelming threat. Sounds pretty epic. But what are my first steps? What does the game actually ask me to do?
Well, the ultimate goal is to stop the Blight. But that's easier said than done. You'll need to unite a fractured kingdom, rally allies to your cause, and confront the archdemon itself.
Confront an archdemon? That sounds intense.
Oh, it is. And every choice you make along the way, every path you take, has consequences. It's a world where your actions truly matter.
You mentioned allies earlier. Tell me, who are some of the characters I might be adventuring with? What are they like?
You'll encounter a truly memorable cast of characters who can join your party. Each one brings their own unique skills, personality, and backstory to the table. Take Alistair, for instance. He's a young warrior, a bit naive perhaps, but fiercely loyal.
Okay, a loyal warrior. I can see how that would be helpful. Who else is there?
Well, there's Morrigan, a powerful sorceress. But she's got a mysterious past and a rather cynical view of the world.
A naive warrior and a cynical sorceress. I bet they have some interesting conversations along the way. What about the others? You mentioned a Mabari warhound earlier. I've got to know more about that.
Ah, yes. Dog. Or rather, the Mabari. He's a fierce fighter, incredibly loyal, and, let's be honest, Probably a bit of a scene stealer.
So we've got political intrigue, a demonic invasion, and a dog who might just steal the show. I'm in.
And what's fascinating is that Dragon Age Origins takes inspiration from more realistic fantasy, like George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire. You're not going to find black and white morality here. The characters are complex, their motivations are often ambiguous, and the world itself is gritty and unforgiving.
Hold on, realistic fantasy. We're talking about a world with mages and dragons. How does that fit with realism?
It's more about the tone, the political machinations, the moral dilemmas that the characters face, the sense that even in a world of magic and monsters, it's often the humans who are the most dangerous creatures.
I can see that. It's not just about slaying dragons and saving the day. It's about navigating the complexities of a world where there are no easy answers. That's something I can definitely appreciate.
And it's a world that feels incredibly alive, with a rich history and diverse cultures. You'll travel from the rolling hills of Ferelden to the dwarven kingdom of Orzammar to the treacherous Korcari wilds. Each location is brimming with detail and atmosphere. Ancient ruins, fascinating characters, secrets waiting to be uncovered.
I'm already picturing it. It sounds less like a video game and more like an interactive novel, you know?
Exactly. And your journey takes you to some truly unforgettable locations.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, there's Ostagar. It's the site of a major battle early in the game, where the fate of nations hangs in the balance. The atmosphere there is electric. You can really feel the tension in the air.
Okay, Ostergar, got it. What about Lothering? I've heard that name mentioned before. What's special about Lothering?
Lothering. It represents the human cost of war. It's a small village, a refuge for people fleeing the Blight. Desperation, hope, heartbreaking loss. You see it all in Lothering.
So Dragon Age doesn't shy away from showing the darker side of conflict. It explores how these events impact everyday people, not just the heroes and villains.
Exactly. And then there's Redcliffe.
Redcliffe, yeah. What makes that location stand out?
Well, Redcliffe is this fortified town under siege by the Darkspawn. It gives you a chilling glimpse into the horrors that the Blight inflicts. You see it up close and personal, and you're forced to make some really agonizing choices to protect the town and its people.
I can imagine. Those decisions probably stay with you long after you finish the game.
They do. And from there, we journey to Denerim, the capital city of Ferelden.
Denerim, that name sounds familiar. Why is it so important?
Denerim is where the final confrontation with the Archdemon takes place. It's the culmination of everything, the climax of the entire story. All the political threads, the personal relationships, the alliances you've forged, it all converges in Denerim for one final epic showdown. The fate of the kingdom hangs in the balance.
Wow, so Denerim is where everything comes to a head. It's the ultimate test of everything you've learned, every bond you've formed, every choice you've made. No pressure. Before we move on, I've got to ask about something I read. It said that Dragon Age Origins was almost titled Chronicle, and it was going to be narrated by an older Morgan. That sounds so interesting. Can you tell me more about that?
Imagine experiencing the whole game through Morgan's eyes, her unique perspective. Which choices did she approve of?
Yeah.
Which ones broke her heart? It's amazing to think about. How did the Warden's actions shape her and the fate of Thetis?
Wow, just a simple title change, and it sparks so much imagination. I'm already thinking about which choices I'd make and how Morgan would react. I'm really getting excited to dive into the next part of our deep dive now.
Me too. It's about to get even more interesting as we explore the mechanics of the game, the nuances of the companion characters, and so much more.
So we've talked about the world, the story, the Blight, these origin stories, but how do you actually play Dragon Age Origins? What's it like moment to moment?
Well, the combat system is real-time, but you can pause the action whenever you want. It's that classic pause-and-play tactical combat. So you can take your time, assess the situation, issue commands to your party members.
So it's not just about button mashing, you need to be strategic.
Oh, definitely. Positioning is important, using your party's strengths, exploiting those enemy weaknesses.
Right, and this is where those specialized classes come in.
Exactly. You've got your warrior, your rogue, your mage, each with their own unique skill sets.
You're right, I almost forgot about those. Could you remind me about the different classes and their specializations just to refresh my memory?
Of course. So let's start with the warrior. You know, your classic frontline fighter. Skilled with weapons, able to take a lot of damage.
If you like to charge into battle, swinging a giant axe, warrior's the way to go.
Exactly. And they can specialize even further. You've got the Berserker, who's all about raw power and those frenzied attacks like a whirlwind of steel. And then there's the Champion, who focuses on defense, protecting their allies, a real bulwark on the battlefield.
Okay, sounds like I'd be a champion. I like to protect my friends. What about rogues?
Rogues are all about stealth, agility, those precise strikes. They can specialize as assassins.
Assassins. Sounds dangerous.
They are masters of stealth. They use poisons. They're experts at taking down targets before they even know what hit them. And then there's the duelist, specializing in swordplay, those elegant, deadly maneuvers.
Okay, now that sounds more my style. A nimble elf, darting through the shadows, taking out enemies with a flick of the wrist.
That's the rogue for you. And then, of course, we have the mages.
Mages, yeah. They always seem to have the coolest abilities. Tell me about them.
They can wield powerful magic, unleash devastating spells. They can control the battlefield, manipulate the elements. It's quite impressive.
What kind of specializations do they have?
Well, they can become blood mages.
Blood magic. That sounds intense.
It is. They draw power from blood, summoning demons to fight alongside them. It's a dangerous path, but a powerful one. And then there's the shapeshifter. They can transform into different animal forms.
Whoa. Shapeshifting. Now that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we've got our classes, our specializations. It sounds like you can really customize your character, make them your own.
You really can. And each playthrough can feel so different depending on the choices you make, the abilities you focus on. It's amazing.
And let's not forget about the companions who join us on our journey. You mentioned Alistair and Morgan earlier. Are there others who might join our party? What are they like in combat?
Oh, definitely. There's Liliana, for example. She's a skilled archer, a bard.
A bard. So she sings in the middle of battle.
Well, her songs can buff the party, give them extra strength or speed. But she's also deadly with a bow, and she can disarm traps.
Okay. A multi-talented bard. I like it. Who else?
There's Sten. He's a Qunari warrior.
Wait, Qunari, who are they?
They're a race of horned giants from a distant land. They have a strict code of honor, and they're known for their martial prowess. Skin's a powerful fighter, very loyal, but he doesn't say much.
A strong, silent type. Okay, so we've got this party of warriors, rogues, mages, bards, even a Qunari. How do they all work together in a fight? It seems like it could get pretty chaotic.
That's where the tactical pause system really shines. You can coordinate their abilities. Like, you might have Morgan cast a spell to freeze an enemy, then Alistair charges in for the final blow, or you have Liliana provide covering fire while your rogue sneaks in for a surprise attack. Lots of options.
So many possibilities. It sounds like you can really tailor your tactics to fit your playstyle.
Exactly. And as you play, your characters gain experience, level up. They get stronger, learn new abilities, improve their stats. It's incredibly rewarding.
And what about loot? I mean, every good RPG needs loot, right?
Oh, you'll find plenty of loot in Dragon Age. Origins. Powerful weapons and armor, magical items, rare crafting materials. It's a loot lover's dream.
Crafting, you say? Tell me more about that.
Oh, it adds another layer of depth. You can gather herbs, minerals, all sorts of ingredients to craft potions, poisons. You can work with blacksmiths to create unique weapons and armor. It's a whole system in itself.
So you're not just finding loot, you're creating it, experimenting, crafting the perfect gear for your characters. That's awesome.
It is. But it's not all about combat and loot. Remember, Dragon Age is also about relationships, the bonds you form with your companions.
Yeah, we talked about how your companions react to your choices, but I'd love to hear more about their personalities. Do they have their own stories, their own motivations?
Oh, absolutely. They're not just there to help you fight. They're fully realized characters. They have their own hopes, fears, and dreams. They'll challenge your beliefs, offer different perspectives on the world.
So they're not just mindless followers. They're active participants in the story.
Exactly. And as you get to know them, you unlock personal quests. You can help them confront their past, overcome their personal struggles.
These personal quests, do they tie into the main story in any way, or are they just side quests?
Oh, they definitely can impact the main narrative. Your companion's struggles often intersect with the larger events of the game. Now, the choices you make in their personal quests can have ramifications for the entire world. It's all connected.
Wow, so you're not just helping a friend out, you're potentially changing the fate of nations.
That's the beauty of it. And speaking of relationships, some of those bonds can even blossom into romance.
Right. I remember that. It was a pretty big deal back in 2009 seeing that kind of representation in a big RPG.
It was. And the romances are well written, they feel genuine, they're not just tacked on, they really add to the emotional depth of the game.
It's all about those connections, those relationships.
It is. They make you care about what happens to these characters. You're invested in their stories, their fates. And speaking of fates, we've talked about the world of Thedas, but haven't really explored it that much. What are some of the key locations I might encounter?
Yeah, paint me a picture. What's this world like?
Thetis is a stunning world. It's got these diverse cultures, a rich history, breathtaking landscapes. You'll travel from the rolling hills of Ferelden to the towering mountains of Orzammar, the dense forests of the Brazilian forest. Every location is so beautifully realized.
You're making me want to go there right now.
It feels so real. The world has this history to it, you know. You'll find ancient ruins, crumbling castles, forgotten temples. Each one has its own story, and the people you meet are just as diverse, just as fascinating. Noble knights, cunning rogues, wise mages, devout priests. It's a world teeming with life.
It's like stepping into an interactive novel.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's the lore. Oh, Dragon Age is packed with lore, ancient prophecies, forgotten gods, the complex histories of all the different races and factions.
That's the thing with BioWare games. They always have such deep lore. It's incredible.
You'll find these codex entries all over the world, filled with fascinating details about the history, the culture, the mythology of Thetis.
I love that. It's like a treasure hunt for information. Okay, you've sold me on the world, the characters, the combat. But there's one more thing I'm curious about, and it's something we've touched on already. Player choice. How much do my choices really matter in Dragon Age? Origins.
Your choices matter immensely. It's not just about choosing the good or evil option. It's about making tough decisions, often in those gray areas where there is no easy answer.
So I'm not just playing a hero or a villain. I'm making choices that reflect my own values, my own beliefs, even when those choices are difficult.
Exactly. You might have to choose between saving a village or preserving an ancient artifact, you know.
Right.
Or you might have to make a deal with a morally ambiguous character to gain an advantage in the war against the Blight. It's never simple.
Tough calls. But do my decisions really affect the game that much?
Oh, they absolutely do. The choices you make have consequences. They ripple outwards, affecting the political landscape, the fate of characters, even the ending you'll get.
So every choice matters. There's no right way to play. It's all about the journey and the consequences of your actions.
Exactly. That's what makes Dragon Age so compelling. It's a game that respects your intelligence, it challenges you, and it lets you craft a story that feels truly unique and personal.
It's funny, we're talking about a video game, but it sounds like so much more than that. It's like an experience, a journey.
It is. It's about stepping into this world that feels both familiar and strange. A world where ancient magic clashes with political intrigue, where the fate of nations hangs in the balance.
You know, it's incredible how just a few different choices can completely change how the story unfolds. I've replayed Dragon Age Origins so many times and had a totally different experience each time.
It really speaks to the game's replay value, doesn't it? You can approach things as a ruthless pragmatist or a bleeding heart, a compassionate idealist, side with powerful factions or go it alone. Every single choice you make has a ripple effect, shaping the political landscape, the fate of your companions, even the ending you'll see.
I had one playthrough where I thought I was doing the right thing, siding with the mages. You know, they were being persecuted. It seemed unfair. But man, that decision led to a huge conflict, really devastated the kingdom.
It's a tough lesson the game throws at you again and again. There are no easy answers. Sometimes the best you can hope for is picking the lesser evil.
And you have to live with the consequences. It's that moral complexity that makes Dragon Age. Origins stand out, I think. It's more than just your average save-the-world fantasy story. It makes you wrestle with the realities of power, politics, all that messy human stuff.
It really does. It shows that even in a world of magic and dragons, we're often our own worst enemies.
It makes you think, you know, about the choices we make in real life, the consequences we have to deal with.
That's what's so powerful about this game. It encourages you to think critically, question your assumptions, look at the world in a new way.
You know, it's interesting to see how much Dragon Age Origins has influenced other games. You can see its influence in The Witcher 3, Divinity, Original Sin 2.
Yeah, it really raised the bar for storytelling in RPGs. Complex characters, choices that truly matter, showed that RPGs could be more than just, power fantasies or dungeon crawls. They could be about something real, exploring complex themes.
When Dragon Age or Origins first came out, it was such a breath of fresh air. Here was this game that treated you like an intelligent human being, challenged you, immersed you in this incredible world.
And it made you feel like your choices truly mattered.
Yeah.
That you had the power to change the fate of an entire world.
And that's a powerful thing, knowing that the hero you become, the story you experience, it's all a result of the choices you make.
That's what makes Dragon Age Origins such a remarkable game, and its influence continues to inspire gamers and game developers today.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, what part of Dragon Age Origins speaks to you the most?
What resonates with you on a personal level? Is it the epic scale of the story, the moral dilemmas, that power of choice, the ability to shape your own destiny?
Whatever it is, I encourage you to check out Dragon Age Origins. Explore this world for yourself.
And remember, the hero you become, the story you experience, it's all up to you.